eBay friends. Welcome to episode number 74 of eBay the Right Way. Today's date is August 17th, 2022. And this past Monday, August 15th, was a special day for me, birthday number 56. How am I even saying that? Wasn't I just a teenager yesterday? The years are passing so fast. And I just want to thank you for the birthday cards, messages, and shout outs on Monday. Some of you were even clever enough to save the packaging from your BOLO books and calendars, which has my mailing address, and send me a card. I love getting personal mail from real people. And I think we need to go back to that rather than only electronic communication. So thank you for filling up my mailbox with birthday wishes. I loved being remembered on my birthday. Okay, that's a short intro today because I'm tired from celebrating. So let's get straight into the chat with Dianna.
Hello, listeners. Today we have Dianna with us, and she is out on the West Coast and was nice enough to get up early to do this podcast. Because if I don't get it done before noon East Coast time, I can't talk anymore. So I'll try to do them in the morning. So good morning, and how are you doing today, Dianna?
I'm wonderful, and good morning to you.
And first off, tell us where you're located.
I am in Yakima, Washington, which is central to basically it is central Washington. It's almost exactly in the middle.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, very agricultural here.
And the home of the Yakima rack.
Yes, and several other different things.
Okay.
It's a big right now it's bursting with breweries. So we have lots of hops, and we also are very close to wine country. So there's a lot of things going on here.
Oh, wonderful. Maybe I'll get out there one day and visit. Haven't been to the West Coast yet, but
I'm actually planning a trip to the East Coast in April. I'm going to Pennsylvania
Mhm.
to visit family, so I'm excited about that.
Okay, great. So yeah, get out there and see this great country.
Yes.
Now that we can travel again.
Now, isn't it great?
Right. Okay, well, we always start off with talking a little bit about how you got into eBay, and we were talking before we started recording, and you said you just started in 2017. So by eBay standards, that's kind of a new seller.
Right. Um, I did try probably in the late 90s, early 2000. I sold one thing. That was back in the day where you had to pay for each picture that you
Mhm.
posted. I think it was like 10 cents a picture or something
Mhm.
like that. And I thought, oh wow, this could be fun. And then I was like, I don't have time. I have, a daughter that's starting junior high school, and I just didn't have time for that. But then now I got hooked on reselling. I thought, you know what, I'm going to do eBay again, and I I like it. I like it a lot.
What was the catalyst that made you say, okay, I need to get back on eBay? Was there like an event that happened in your life or what?
um, well, I had been doing started um with my aunt. She bought storage units, and she would give me everything except for the furniture. And I would have a great big huge yard sale for a fundraiser for the American Cancer Society every year.
Mhm.
And I did that for like 3 years in a row. And then that kind of disbanded in our local area. And so I thought, I have all this stuff. What am I going to do with it? So I thought, I'm gonna start sorting through it and see if, looking up things on eBay and see if it's worth my while to do it. And lo and behold, I found items that were like, hey, these are selling for pretty decent amount of money. I'm going to try it out again. And I started in the fourth quarter, which, so that kind of like encouraged me. I think it
And
was November.
spoiled you. Yeah, like,
Yeah,
oh,
in
this is great.
November.
It's going to be like this all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it was November of 2017 I started, and I did really well. My husband was like, "What? You're making what?" And so, yeah, I don't work outside the home. I take care of my, grandkids and help my daughter out. But it was an easy income, and it provided me to be able to do, extra things that I wouldn't been able to with the budget, that we have. So it just has been, progressing and progressing, and I slowed down a little bit the last few months because we've been busy, but I know it's there for me whenever I'm ready to hit it hard again.
And we were talking before we started recording that you are a young grandma.
Yes, I was married to my, I guess, high school sweetheart I was 18 and had my first daughter at 18. She is actually my only child. And now I have two grandchildren, my grandson, Wyland, who is 9, and my granddaughter, Eleanor, who is 6. So loving this age.
Okay, and we were also talking, we're pretty close in age. If you want to share the year you were born so that others can relate to your station in life.
I was born in 1969.
Okay.
Yeah, 1969. Good year.
Well, and the first thing that popped into my mind when you said the ages of your grandchildren is that you kind of have some insight into what kids are into from a reselling standpoint, which
Yes.
I am not connected to that world anymore.
Well, what I love is they're like, they call me Mama, which is very Southern, I know, and I'm not a Southern girl, but my grandfather was born and raised in Oklahoma, so I guess that's kind of upper South part. Anyway, my grandkids on the weekends are like, Mama, are we going to yard sales? Or Mama, can we go to Goodwill? So they're getting the bug early, and my grandson has an eye for what is popular and what kids like, because I'll look things up that he picks out for himself, and I'm like, do you know, if when you're ready to get rid of that, we could sell that on eBay and you can make some money. So they're excited about it.
That's very
Yeah.
interesting to watch what different age groups are drawn to.
Right.
And even strangers that I
Yeah.
watch what other people do in grocery stores, the thrift store. What are they looking at? What are they picking up? What are they putting in their cart that I don't know about? And my ears perk up when I'm in the grocery store and somebody says, oh, nobody ever has this. Or, oh, there's one left. This is so hard to find. And
Right.
what are they talking about? Is it something that has a long shelf life that I could sell?
I know. I'm always looking. I do a lot of online auction purchasing, because sometimes there's just not enough here, and the thrift stores just don't have items that I'm really interested in. So I'm always looking at the household items that they're selling, especially if they're new old stock, and I'm like, oh, I those are, sought after, and I'm sure there's other people who do the same thing with the online auction to source from. So
Yeah, it's just a matter of what's available to you and how you like getting your inventory, because
right.
some people don't like going to thrift stores. It's hard for them to get out. Maybe they have a medical issue and it's too tiring, or for whatever reason, they don't like crowds or whatever. And online auctions have come a long way, especially since 2020, when a lot of smaller thrift stores and estate sales got into that method of selling. without,
Yeah.
going face to face, except for when you go pick it up. And then you're not really face to face. You're still social distanced. So
Right.
that's available really to anybody if you have one of those companies, or if it's in your area, it's easy to get to.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to drive about an hour and 15 minutes usually to go, but I have a local and they know me now. And they're like, "Oh, I see you haven't, they'll say you haven't bought anything in a while." And I'm like, "Well, you guys sell, have a sale every week. I can't buy every week."
Right.
But yeah, and sometimes I'm down there twice a week. So it just all depends on what they have going on, but enjoy it.
Do you use high bid?
Actually, I have gone on high bid, but most of the places around there's like one company that does high bid here. But another company is Estate Details is the one I use, and I really enjoy that. So, and I think that it's more of a local auction house that has that. But I do enjoy it. And I've done max sold a few times where if I know I'm traveling over to what I call the west side, which is, the Seattle, Tacoma area, I'll do max sold sometimes if I know we're going over there. I check the auctions to see if it coincides with our traveling.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some of your sales lately,
Sure.
because I'm such a Facebook stalker. I do look at the money making Mondays and the conversations and all of that. My daughter does the social media part where, on my business page, it's profiling, highlighting different sales, and so I see what she's picking. But yeah, I just kept seeing your name coming up week after week, and interesting, unique kinds of things.
Right. Um, I have been trying harder to be more selective on the items that that I'm picking up. It's really hard for me because I see some value in most everything. I don't do a lot of clothing. I try to do that. I just don't have the patience and time to measure and do all the, different things that you have to do. And it seems like every time I'll miss some little tiny flaw. And, I was like, okay, my passion is more of the hard goods. So I'm going to stick to that. And occasionally I will pick up vintage. Um, but some of the like this last week, I think I just posted, I bought a cross stitch kit, but my problem was it was opened. And I was so nervous about it. And I kept putting it back on the shelf, picking it up, putting it back on the shelf. I'm like, I looked at it, everything was in it. The person apparently had started by putting tape around the Ada cloth, which is normal. If you're into cross stitching, you tape around your Ada cloth to keep it from fraying. And I'm like, it's $4, Diana. It's $4. Just buy it. It's $4. It's not like you're going to be losing a lot of money. So I was getting ready to go on vacation, and so I put it on auction for 10 days because I was going to be gone for 10 days, and it sold for $154. And I was like, "What?" My husband's like, "What?" I go, "Well, if it was brand new, it'd sell over 200." And he goes, "But it was opened." And I said, I know, but it's still sold."
Isn't that amazing? It's just,
Yeah.
and I feel like my mission in life is, I don't want to say to convince people, but to show them what's possible. Um, in my videos, I'll do some little commentary, and it's like, this is a piece of plastic, or this was broken. And it's just, I feel like it's a calling to help people believe, because if you don't believe, then it's never going to work. And those successful people that sell these things they find for $1 and sell for 300, they believe they're going to find those items.
Oh yeah.
It's not to criticize your husband or anything, but I can't even tell you how many people I've come across in my life that just, they're like, yeah, that was a one-time fluke, or they just don't believe that someone would buy an item, a Christmas item in the off season, or something that's damaged, or whatever the problem is. And that's why I do those sales update videos, because I'm just one person and I don't sell nearly as much as I did when I was full time. So I'm a part time seller. But um, even this year, I've had several plush that have sold for over $100.
Yeah.
People don't believe it's possible. So if they find my YouTube and then they start going through my videos, it's almost like brainwashing. It's like, welcome to the eBay cult. Here's what we believe. And this can happen to you too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to an estate sale. Um, we were traveling to Oregon. We're in a very, very rural town, and it was the last day of an estate sale. We showed up and we're thinking, and the lady's like, anything you can put in a pile for $1. So make a pile, and that pile's $1. And I was like, $1? Are you kidding? So it was me, my husband, my son-in-law, and my daughter, and my grandkids. So we just went through the house like 3, 4 times in all the outbuildings. We had this great big huge pile of stuff. And my husband, I always tell him, if you find anything new, old stock, never been opened, grab it, especially if you can get it for cheap. So he had picked up a couple things for me, and I'm like, yeah, that's new. It's never been opened. What can we go wrong with it? It's $1. So we had this great big huge pile, and I felt bad, so I gave the lady $10. And my grandkids had a great time. They were finding things, they were putting stuff in the pile, and you never know what you're going to find. Last day estate sales, people, they have to get there for the high dollar things, is what I call it. I'm a last day estate sale kind of girl. I like the bargain. My money last. But one thing that stood out to me, or actually there's two things at that estate sale. One was a package of two cassette tapes, still in the package, but they were from Japan. They were made in Japan. And, my husband thought, oh, you might be able to get $10 for these, maybe. And so I put them on and I sold them for $40. I mean, within hours. He's like, what? $40? He goes, we paid what, maybe 10 cents for those? And I said, I know. And another little thing was a Coleman lantern filter. So you pour your gasoline in the old Coleman lanterns, still in the package, brand new. And that sold for like $28. And he's like, I just don't get it. Why do people? I said, because you can't find those things anymore. It brings back a memory for these people. And so those are fun. But I'm like I said earlier, I'm trying really hard to focus on buying things that I can have that higher profit margin. And I've learned that it's okay to pay up for something.
Mm-hmm.
And because before I wouldn't pay more than $5 for anything. And so, I wasn't making a lot of profit because I was buying these low dollar items that weren't selling for, high dollar amounts. I'm going to kind of pick up, kind of look at my solds here. But, yeah, so I've been trying really hard to find the items that sell for, $50 to $100. And I've been fortunate lately to have found some items that sell for good money. And I lean towards kind of the unusual type of decor. Like I sold recently this glass, just a piece of glass that they call slumped over river rock. It was signed by the artist. It's a like a Pacific Northwest artist. From Oregon. And no, there was none listed, none sold, couldn't find it. I just, had found him on Google and kind of looked at his art. He doesn't do that any longer, and I listed it really high. I mean, really high. I think $400 or something like that. And I had it listed for a long time, but then ended up selling it. I paid $5 for it, and I think I ended up selling it for just about 200 if I remember right. Yeah, $210. Had to look it up. And my husband's like, "You sold that for $210?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "How much did you pay for that?" I said, $5. And he goes, "Why did you pick it up? It's not anything spectacular. It's literally a piece of glass, really thick, heavy, like recycled glass. It's just a square, and it's like slumped over some river rock." I go, "Because it's unusual. People like the unusual." So he was really shocked that it took me a while to sell it, probably 6 or 8 months, I think. But for $5, I could sit on it for 6, 8 months, year. I don't care.
Yeah,
It
right.
looked pretty. I thought if you have that type of decor, it looked really nice. Would look really cute in a cabin. But I love searching out those unusual things that I think I can make high dollar for. And I don't think I buy things that a lot of people buy. So, you know, a lot of people probably walk past that and I was like, eh. But for me, it was unusual and signed. I like to look for signed artists. And then I also, on the flip side, bought a slipcover from Pottery Barn. Went to the Goodwill over in Aberdeen, which is near where we have property. And I bought this slipcover, brand new in package. It still actually had the person who purchased it, the packing slip inside from like 2010. And so he never even took it out of the plastic packaging to check the size or whatever. It was, you could tell that it never been unfolded. And I'm like, "It's $20." I'm like, "Oh, am I gonna pay $20?" I'm like, "It's Pottery Barn, it's $20, it's a slipcover. I know I can sell it. I'll make my money back." My husband's like, "You're paying $20 for that?" And I said, "Yes, yes." It sold in a day and a half, I think, maybe 2 days. $184. He just couldn't believe it. Why would anybody pay that? I go, "Because they don't make it anymore." And
Right.
the person who bought it messaged me and said, "Can you make sure it's this length?" Because she goes, "They make a chair one and a couch one." And so I took the picture and showed her the length, and she bought it within seconds after I emailed her. And it was fun being able to find those things. Most of the time I'm not selling those high dollar items, but it just seems like lately, I think since I've been focusing on trying to find things of higher amount, I have been doing better with finding higher dollar amounts.
So, how many items do you have in your store at this time?
Uh, I range anywhere from 175 to like 225. So I always try to stay there. It's a small store. I don't have a lot of items. When I first started, you know, I was on constantly listing, and I'd have 500, 600 items, but I wasn't really selling because I don't think that I was putting a lot of the things that people were looking for or at the time. And being new, I thought the more I have, I'll do better. But I found that having higher quality items, items that people are looking for. And I've been doing a lot of research trying to see, what things are selling, what things are trending, looking at, I sell a lot of the decor, house decor, a lot of vintage. And I try to focus my purchases on that trend. And that way I'm, selling through my items fairly quickly. Um, some things have been on there a while, but I'm okay with that. I really am okay having items on there for a lengthy amount of time. Um, like I said, I do this as fun income for us to do extra vacations, have pedicures with my granddaughter, do fun things with it, take the kids out. And so I'm not relying on my income, the income I have for eBay to, survive like a lot of people do. And I, if I had to, um, I could do that. and just knowing. And even my husband said, he wants to retire early. He's like, we can work on eBay and travel. And I said, I know, that's why I've been trying to focus on smaller items that are easy to carry around in a few totes, um, that we can put in our camp trailer and go camping, and bring it along. So
That's a great goal to have. I'm on board with that. In fact, yesterday I went to Goodwill and very mindful of what I'm buying. And I found this interesting short wooden pepper mill. And it was a brand I'd never heard of. And it sells for about $30 and it was $2. And that's like the perfect thing, just these little things. But back to what you were saying about the number of items in your store and, oh, it's a small store. There was an interesting discussion on the Facebook group. Someone asked, how many items do I need to have in my store for the search engine to, quote, like me? And I think there's just a lot of misunderstanding about that, because we see people on the group that maybe only have 50 items in their store and they don't want, or they don't even have a store at all. They just list items as they feel like it. And I think there's a lot of misinformation / fake news about what you should be doing in your store for search engine optimization. And I just don't think we're ever going to boil that down to, a top 5 list, because first of all, everybody's store and account is different. So you figure out what works for you and then you keep doing that. But I don't think eBay wants us to know this algorithm. They'll throw out, crumbs, bits and pieces about things over time, but there's just too many variables. What are you selling? What categories are you selling in? How often are you listing? How long are you leaving your items out there? Your personal account, how long have you been selling? I know that brand new sellers get a bump because eBay wants them to get hooked and keep
yeah.
selling. And then some people that have been on there 15, 20 years can't figure out why things aren't selling. Well, you have a more established account. It's about your feedback percentage, feedback number, your DSR ratings. And there's also a way to leave reviews on eBay. I've stumbled into that a few weeks ago. I didn't even know that was there.
Oh,
And
me neither.
just how you price your items. Are you the fast nickel or the slow dime person? Do you do auctions? Do you do fixed price? Do you take low offers just to get sales, to keep things moving? There's just too much information. There's probably 100 more things. And so if for the listeners, don't worry about that stuff. Just be dedicated to your eBay business. Touch it every day. Is that shipping things, listing things, ending and restarting, tweaking listings, taking offers, sending offers, all those things that are in your control that you can do that stuff and pay attention to the results and do more of what's working. That's like the entrepreneur mission statement. Try
Right.
things and do more of what's working.
Right. Yeah. I got discouraged probably 4 months ago because I wasn't selling anything and I was listing every day. And I thought, you know what? Let's see. I have all these items on here that have been on for a while. So like you said, I ended everything and then I relisted it as sell similar. And so I didn't just end it and relist it. I ended it and I chose to sell similar. So I used everything again, but I just changed it. And it was like instantaneous. I started getting, because eBay's algorithm thought I was listing all this new stuff, and it was almost like I was a new person again. I just kind of, I thought, I'm going to try this. I've heard several people say that, and sell similar. I did my whole store because I don't have that many items. So, 200 items is not a big deal. And it took me no time at all because I did it in bulk and it worked. So you have to play around with it. You can't just assume that, what one person does is going to work for you. I would get discouraged if I, would see people with all these sales every weekend. Then I was looking at so I'd go and I'd look at their, people that I follow on Facebook or YouTube or whatever. And I'd be like, well, they have 6,000 items. Of course they're going to sell, 50 items, where I have 200 and I sold 4, so I'm excited. If you look at the averages, I'm doing just as well as they are. You just It just seems like they're doing a lot better than you because, you're selling 4 and they're selling 60, but they also have 6,000 items and you have 200. So, if you want to have 6,000 an item, which I don't.
I think how many items you have is part of it, but over my almost 20 years on eBay, I have experimented with a lot of different things, and it's not a mathematical relationship. If you have 300 items and you're making X dollars a month profit and you double that, the profit doesn't double. The sales don't
Right.
double. It's not an, I don't know what you call that mathematical relationship, but a lot of people are thinking, oh, well, I have 200 items. So if I have 1,000, I'm going to have 5 times more sales and make 5 times more money. And in my experience, it did not work that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, you have to stop comparing yourself to other people and just focus on you and your business or your store, or what you want out of it. And I think a lot of people get hooked on comparing themselves to others instead of just focusing on themselves. you know I'm very positive. My husband will tell you I'm probably the most positive person, because I'm always telling him, think positive. And he's like, I'm a realist. He'll be like, I'm a realist. I'm positive that this is going to happen. I'm like, no, you just got to think positive. So I try to keep that outlook when I start to feel a little bit like, what's not, what's not working and why is it not working? Just refocus my attention to my store, my items. Am I picking the right things? Am I picking duds? And that's the reason why I'm not selling, because I'm picking duds. Relook at the trends. You know, what's hot right now? Right now I find that 80s and 90s children are buying. My daughter's age. She graduated in 2006. They're in their mid 30s. They have some expendable income, and so they're trying to relive the late 90s, early 2000s, and so they're looking for those things that bring back that memory. And like myself, my age group, we're getting to a point where maybe we're starting to downsize a little bit, but there's still some things out there that we're nostalgic about. So you kind of have to just look at what's trending, who has the expendable income, when what are they looking for?
Can you expand on specific things that your daughter is into that are good sellers right now? The 90s, 80s stuff?
Um, well, of course the fashion is back, those chunky shoes, uh the other things that she says that she's looking for are memory, like childhood toys, movies. One big, like we just talked about it this weekend, because my grandkids now want it, is some older movies that she watched growing as a kid. I know those aren't high dollar items, but those are easy ship. You can find them relatively inexpensively. Some things, toys, a big thing. Plush, definitely plush. Band T-shirts, things that even from our time, they're looking for those clothing items, decorate, jewelry from the 90s and the early 2000s. She doesn't really collect things, but those are just small things that people are looking for. um Mainly toys and movies. and some clothing. Like I said, I don't do clothing very often unless it's, a super cool vintage like Pendleton jacket or I did purchase some vintage Hawaiian stuff. So which is that sells all the time. I mean, Hawaiian sells, especially if it's the vintage, handcrafted in Hawaii, that type of thing. So um I focus on decor. Like I just picked up one of those really cool um grape clusters, the acrylic grape clusters on some driftwood. And my son-in-law's, Mom, why'd you buy that? Those are kind of, I go, but those are very trendy right now. People, if you look on eBay, they're very trendy. And he's like, really? And I go, yeah, people like that mid-century, that early 70s. It's just, I think the old is becoming new again.
Yeah. And one thing I've noticed that people are into are is like that sugared fruit. It's jeweled, it's sequined and shiny and pretty. And I think it's made of fabric, and then the sequins and jewels are sewn onto it. I don't know, or maybe it's a spray process. But yeah, that's very popular right now. And I remember, yeah, 70s and 80s, we had that crap in our house, and it was just a
Oh
decoration
yeah.
that sat over in the corner and uh, collected dust. And then another thing, I don't even know the real name for these. I found some yesterday. I call them twig balls. They're just, they're like these wicker balls. They're also called rattan or grapevine. And you'll just see them in a pretty bowl, a bunch of different ones. I found some purple ones. So my artsy friend found some of these when we were out thrifting one day, and she just was like, "Oh, I've been looking for these. They're so expensive." And I'm like, "Those dumb twig balls? Really? People want that?" Yep, that's the thing. So it's just that's a more modern thing, but the sugared fruit and those rubber grapes, I called them, I guess, are the ones you found, are they hard, like hard acrylic, like plastic, or rubber?
Oh no, they're the hard acrylic. Do you remember those things called knockers? You would swing them around and anyway, they would bang. They're very hard acrylic. So, yeah, if you threw them at somebody, it really hurt them. Yeah, they're very, pretty heavy, but those are very trendy. And I agree with those sugared or jeweled type fruit. That brings me to the thought of those handmade. I don't know if you ever did it when you were young. My mom, we did the Christmas ornaments, the styrofoam, and then you stuck all the pins in there with all the little jewels. Those are very, very popular right now. And I found some in a lot, and I think there was maybe 5 or 6 of them, and I sold them for probably, I think it was like $45 for 6 ornaments. And those are, stuff that, your mom and your grandma and you would sit around and make, as a kid or whatever. And I thought, oh, you know, so I thought, would these be worth it? I mean, they were pretty. I mean, and so I looked them up, and sure enough, they're selling very well. um Vintage Christmas, any vintage Halloween, Christmas, holiday stuff sells really well all year long. I never try to hold things back. um when I find something, I list it. Of course, you're going to sell it for a little higher towards the holiday itself, but why not get it out there, and someone who's shopping early because they know they might not be able to find it will pay your price, even if it's a little higher.
Yeah, I found one Department 56 snow baby yesterday, and it was just a little figurine. It wasn't an ornament, it wasn't a grouping. It was that, I guess it's ceramic. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, so I went and put in Department 56 snow baby into the eBay app, just thousands of sold listings. And it wasn't really special enough to get, the the groupings or the ornaments, or there's two, like a boy and a girl together, those sell for more. But it was just mixed in with the breakable stuff next to all those bells, those handbells that everybody aren't worth anything. And right next to it was a candle. It was a Yankee candle, but Goodwill had it priced at $10. And it wasn't even the big one. It was like the 14 ounce. It wasn't the 22 ounce. I'm like, paying $10 for that? What are they thinking? So there's just so much to look at and look up. And back to the ornaments with the sequins and the straight pins. Yes, I made some of those, and they were so heavy because of all the straight pins stuck in that styrofoam ball. Would like fall off the tree. You had to hang
Right.
it way back towards the tree trunk so it wouldn't, pull the branch down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a time-consuming project at the kitchen table, listening to Christmas music, making those sequiny ornaments, and it took a while. And I think that was by design, because I'm one of 4 kids, and it's like, okay, here's a project. And then we would also make those. We did the bread dough, and then we did the ones that shrink. They're like the plastic, and you would
Oh,
paint them and then put them in the oven on really low, and they'd shrink, kind of along the shrinky dink concept. But we did that, and we did a lot of little Christmas projects. Our favorite was making cookies and eating them, but you can't do that every day on Christmas break.
yeah, no doubt. Um, Kind of touching on the Department 56, um, that that brought me to one of my very best sales. So it's, you always have to kind of look that up. Right before the pandemic, I bought 2 very large storage units because I was really into doing storage unit purchases, and one of them was from a gal. Unfortunately, she had passed, and her family didn't want to have, to deal with the storage unit. So I purchased this storage unit. I think I spent like $800 on it, um, because it was like a 10 by 20 or 15 by 20. It was a pretty big storage unit. And I could see in there a lot of brand new items, and thought, oh, okay, this is great. And I got in there, and she apparently had a shopping problem because I found bags and bags and bags of clothing still in like the Macy's bag or the JCPenney bag with the receipts, and never had been even taken out of the bag. I ended up having a big sale at my house for the clothing, and the rest of it I donated to the Union Gospel Mission, to benefit the homeless. And then, but what I found in there, what was amazing to me, because I didn't think it had any value, was some Department 56 items. And most of them weren't in their boxes still. They were, just out in a box. They were wrapped in bubble wrap, but not in their original boxes. Well, come to find out, they were Christmas Vacation. Do you remember Chevy Chase, the Christmas
Oh,
Vacation?
yes.
Yes. Well, so I thought, oh, these might be interesting. And I started looking them up. Oh, yeah, they were very interesting. I sold one house for almost $900. $900.
Ah,
They paid for the whole storage unit, one house. And yeah, I was just like, what? And I was so nervous about sending it because it didn't have the original packaging, which is usually with styrofoam and it fits in there tight, those Christmas Village boxes. And it arrived safely, and the gentleman was super happy. But uh, Department 56, some of the just regular Christmas Village type buildings are bread and butter. You're not going to make a lot of money on it, but really, those unusual ones like Christmas Vacation, they also have like a Halloween village. Those are the ones I would focus on if you're into that type of thing, because they can bring in good money. Like I said, that one sold for almost $900. And then I sold a little tiny bus, which was, or not a bus, motorhome, that little Eddie, Uncle Eddie's motorhome. And that sold for almost $100. And I was like, oh my gosh, my husband was just beside himself. And he goes, wow. But yeah, so you just kind of, I always look at Department 56. It doesn't matter what it is. I look it up and I determine if it's worth my time or not. I try not to just buy it just because it's Department 56. I do research it before I buy it, but it's great. And Hallmark ornaments too.
Well,
Yeah.
and back to your husband, how y'all are different in the way you approach life. Maybe that keeps you grounded and keeps you from getting way up into the ethers of all your ideas and oh, this could happen and that can happen and just
Yeah.
bring it on down. Let's be more realistic. But he doesn't. He's not quite on board with the why people would spend so much money on a collectible, those Department 56 items. And it's just that is a moving target based on the person. You could sell it for 900 today, and a week from now somebody else could see it, like could have seen it, maybe if that first person didn't pay or whatever, and they'll pay 1,500. It's
Yeah.
just it's a human thing. Sometimes it's not about the seller, it's about the buyer. And what is their financial situation? Is money no object and they really want that? They really want to give that as a gift to somebody that it meant something to, or a sibling, because we grew up with this and we had this in our house and it broke or whatever. And there's just all kind of reasons. So that's why, and this is for the listeners, when you do your research and you go to Terapeak and you go back a year, you could see such a range of prices. And I really believe it has more to do with the buyer than with the seller, especially if it's an auction. Because, one auction, it could end in $300. A different auction, different time of year, different people, $600. Like, the only way you're ever going to know is to ask all those people involved, like, why did you pay this much? Because there's no, from an analytical standpoint, and a lot of analytical people get into eBay and they try to figure this out, and it's just unfigure outable why buyers do what they do. It's unless you ask them, and sometimes they don't even know. They're like, yeah, I got into the auction and I was just going to win this no matter what, and the price went up to whatever and they paid it. It's just you
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, I kind of I kind of remind him. He's a very big fisherman, so I kind of remind him, just think about how much money you spend on a little tiny lure that you could potentially lose if a fish breaks off your line. So,
Mhm.
it's just all depends on what's important to you. And to some people there is some memory attachment to those items that they will buy and pay whatever you're asking. So you just don't know the story.
And back to the fishing lure, yeah, he could lose it the first day, or he could catch hundreds of fish with it. You don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since you are really kind of a newer seller,
Right.
and you're getting momentum now and you're figuring out how you want to do your business with smaller items and you're becoming very picky about what you buy, what kind of advice do you have for people moving into eBay to get
Oh,
started?
okay. Well, first of all, just don't be afraid to get started. Find what makes you happy. Like I said at the beginning of this, I thought, oh, yeah, I'm going to love doing clothes. And then I found out, oh, no, I hate doing clothing. I just hate it. So I switched to what I liked. I liked vintage, I liked glassware. I was really a little bit nervous about doing that, but you know what? I did have a couple bumps in the road where things got broken, but I learned I am like the queen packager. You look at my feedback and they always comment on how well I package. But don't be afraid. things happen. Yeah, you're gonna buy duds. You're gonna have things get broken in shipping. It just happens. But don't let that get you discouraged. You just have to take that first step. It doesn't have to be a giant leap. It just has to be one little small step. And, you know, find your niche, find what makes you happy, what you enjoy purchasing. Because if you don't like it, if you don't like to take a pictures of it, if you don't like, if you don't like the packaging of it, then it's not going to be for you. But like, the main thing is try it. You don't know if you don't try it. Like, I was a little nervous about selling electronic items just because I don't know them very well. I tried it. There's some things that I will still steer clear from just because there's, things that can't, that I don't know how to test. But I still do it occasionally. It's not my main focus, but you just have to try. You won't know until you try.
Yeah, this is a very experimental business. And I see a lot of questions on the Facebook group from new people that they're getting advice, should I sell this? Should I sell that? And really, if you ask 100 people, you're going to get 100 answers. And it's just, you got to jump in and just do it. And I agree with you. Focus on what you're drawn to. When you go in that thrift store or wherever you're getting your items, what are you drawn to that you're interested in? Because yeah, you can try to be these sellers that just turn and burn and list 100 items a day, but you're going to burn out. Everybody eventually burns out. In fact, I don't know if you heard the interview with KC, but he had an eBay business back in late 90s and sold skis, and he had thousands of skis listed, and just the business got too big and he got burned out. And that's why he does it the way he does now, just kind of whatever he can find and what he's interested in, and sort of a no pressure situation. And there's lots of YouTube channels that show people buying thousands of items at a time. And to me, that's the same as working for the man in corporate America. Just
Right.
you get, it's too overwhelming and it's not fun anymore. And if you naturally do what you're drawn to, plush or vintage items or, whatever you love, then you just can't wait to get up and work on it every day. It's not like work. It's fun, and that's sustainable. This pushing yourself to do as much as you can, as fast as you can, it's not sustainable over the long run. I don't think, that's just my observation of people that get into this. Eventually they burn out and they have to pull back, and either they quit eBay altogether because they're so burned out, they quit reselling, or they scale back and just do like cherry picking like we do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I like I said, I think it's a good for me in my life. It's a good source of income for extras. So I'm like I said, I'm not relying on it as our main source of income, but I still want it to be fun. I still want to have a good time at it and I enjoy it. I mean, this is just one of the selling platforms I do. I do flea markets and I have my own little Facebook group that I do online sales for my local people, just little things like that. But this is, and I do those types of things for the interaction with people that I miss by not working outside of the home. It's my outlet to have my butterfly. My husband always says I'm a social butterfly, that I have to have that little tickle, and I have to be around people, so I do that. But eBay for me is just the fun of the income that supports our travels and extras. So yeah, you just have to enjoy it too. But if you don't enjoy it, it's not worth it. It really isn't. I worked as an HR representative for 12 years for a major company in the US, and I left because of burnout. I left because of burnout. And I don't want to do that ever again.
Oh, I agree 100%. And a lot of people that are transitioning into retirement, they're waiting for their time to be up so they can get their pension, or, they're waiting for that benchmark to arrive. It's like, oh, I got 3 more years. Like, oh, and I would just hate that, just to know that you have to wait to get that golden parachute, or whatever you want to call it. I mean,
Yeah.
you can always do it on the side and then transition into more reselling when you are retired. But I get a lot of students like that, and they're not they don't even want to take it on yet, because they have a full-time job and a family, and there's no time for it. But they're learning about it now, because that day will come when they're retired. And in talking with retired people, newly retired people, the biggest challenge is losing your sense of purpose. Like, what am I going to do all day? And yeah, you can vacation and relax and hang out for a while, but after a few months or maybe a year, it's like you need a sense of purpose. And I think getting out there and hustling it and finding things to sell and shipping your items, you have somewhat of a routine and things to look forward to. So it's quite different from that corporate world that a lot of people come from. It's so relaxed, and anybody can do it. There's no barriers to entry. And I love saying I'm a part-time reseller, because I did full time for about 6 years when I first started, and it was really 7 days a week, just keeping up with everything. And back then, I was selling 10 to 20 items a day every day, because eBay
Ugh,
wasn't like it is now with so many sellers and so many items. And it definitely was a full-time job. But yeah, if you're just using it for the extras, then it can stay fun. And there's nothing wrong with being what they call a hobby seller. That used to be frowned upon, and oh, you're not as good as the full-time sellers. And it's like, no, I'm pacing myself. I don't want to burn out. I don't want to not love this business, you know? So,
right.
so
That's one thing that we talked about, my husband and I, is, he's planning on retiring early. And I said, well, you can be my bookkeeper, because he's, the spreadsheet guy, likes to keep everything, and I am not that person. My receipts go, and I keep in my drawer. At least I do that. I have a space for all my receipts, and, so I can keep track of that thing for my taxes and what have you. But I said, and you can keep track of my inventory, what we paid for it, how, that kind of thing, because he loves it. And he goes, okay, I can do that. So we have been talking about that. We might step it up a little bit, just so we have more fun income, so he can retire early. So I'm looking forward to him helping, for sure.
okay,
Yeah.
well, we have made it to the end. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on and being brave enough to be peppered with questions. But I enjoyed hearing your stories, and we'll keep looking for your sales on the Facebook group.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Suzanne. It was wonderful. You made it easy.
Great. Okay, we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks again for coming on, Diana. I really enjoyed meeting you. And now we will get into today's trivia question. The prefix octo, O-C-T-O, means 8, as in octopus, octagon, octogenarian. So why is October not the 8th month? Here are 5 seconds to think about it. Okay, the meaning of October comes from the Latin word octo, meaning 8. The old Roman calendar started in March, named after Mars, the Roman god of war. So October was the 8th month in that calendar rotation. When the Roman Senate changed the calendar in 153 BC, the new year started in January, and October was pushed back to the 10th month. To complicate matters, August was the 8th month of the Gregorian calendar. It was named for the first Roman emperor, Augustus Caesar, in 8 BC. August's original name was Sextilis, Latin for 6th month, indicating its position in the early Roman calendar. So there was a bunch of different calendars, and things got moved around and pushed back and changed and invented, and it just got all mixed up over time. So now you know why the names of the months don't make any sense because it's evolved over thousands of years. And as I just explained, sometimes a month was named for a particular person or number, and it just got all pushed around. So there you go, in case you were wondering. Okay, next week, Louis Prizzi, aka the Toy Guy, will be my guest answering all your questions about Barbies. Even if you aren't a Barbie fan, you will love this episode because it is filled with Louis's hysterical sense of humor, nostalgia, and other information about collectible toys. Thanks for hanging out with us for the past hour, and I will talk to you next week. Bye for now.